What are some things weighing you down that you may need advice on? Toxic mother-in-law has been drugging me. I need some serious advice on what to do, other than going to the police. So my mother-in-law, who I thought was a loving person, has been coming over a lot ever since my dear husband and I told her we were trying to have a baby after 5 years of marriage. Toxic mother-in-law has never been my biggest fan. She thinks my career takes over most of my life and I have no time to cater to her poor little baby boy. Dear husband, I am very successful, I own my own store, and it does take up a lot of my day. But I am home every night at 5 p.m. A half hour after. Dear husband, I have told toxic mother-in-law that if I were to have a child, I could easily work out of my own home for the first year until dear daughter or dear son is old enough for daycare. I thought this arrangement was agreed upon since it's a pretty solid game plan. She played it off as excited and happy for us. Dear husband, and I told toxic mother-in-law about the plan for a baby around October 5th. I know this because it was a few days after my birthday. Every single day since. And I mean every single day since. Toxic mother-in-law has been coming over for coffee or drinks every night at 5:30 p.m. I haven't been too bothered by it as she helps clean up around the house, and helps with supper to keep my baby incubator stress-free. Toxic mother-in-law has always been a bit overly touchy with dear husband. He's currently 27 years old, and a few months ago he announced to the family how sore he was from work, and he couldn't get this one knot out of his neck. What does she do? Jumps off of the couch, and rushes behind the chair he's sitting on, and starts massaging his neck and shoulders. I was so weirded out, I just gave dear husband the what the F look, and he went wide-eyed, looked to the side, back at me as if he was asking for help. Ready for the messed up story yet? So every day that she's been coming over, the drinks and coffee have always tasted fine. Not one fiber in my body did I ever expect her to put anything in there. So here's what happened. Today, I was sitting down on the couch watching TV while she was in our kitchen, as she always suggests, making the coffee just by herself. Everything is normal. She gossips, I listen, and nod, and maybe throw in a little chuckle here and there. She finishes her coffee, and cleans up, but mine is still around half full. She asks if she can take the cup. I say no because I'd like to have the rest. After she leaves, I finish the rest of my coffee, and see a little pink pill poking out of the coffee grounds that I've sunk to the bottom. We use a French press. I see this little pill, half dissolved, but still very visible. I pick it out with my fingers, and lo and behold, it's a goddamn birth control pill. She has been spiking my coffee and drinks with birth control. I had been taking this exact pill since I was 15 years old. I knew exactly what it was. This happened about 8 hours ago. It's currently 2 a.m. and I finally pieced everything together after making a few calls to my local pharmacy. According to the pharmacist at Target, my mother had picked up 6 months worth of birth control, and paid for it in cash. I told the pharmacist that that was impossible, because my mother had passed away 4 years ago. I asked what was the name that picked it up, and she said she didn't record the name, but the pharmacist that took the order checked her ID to make sure last names were similar. And bingo, I took dear husband's last name when I married him, and boom, toxic mother-in-law played as my mother, and picked up 6 packs of the birth control, and has been spiking my drinks with it for the past 3 months. Me and dear husband have been trying so hard to have a child. It's been something we have looked forward to for 2 years. We are finally in a wonderful place to start. But this crap happens. This has to be illegal. She could go to jail for this, right? I'm so hurt, and betrayed, but mostly disgusted, and so angry. I haven't told her or dear husband that I found the pill. I needed to understand everything first. And I need advice from lovely women who deals with batcrap crazy mother-in-laws. Please help. Give me a master plan on how to deal with this. I hate confrontation, but I'm gonna burn a bitch's house down. So story time. I delivered my daughter 6 weeks ago and I'm still angry and bitter about this. My grandma had a very classic and feminine name and I have always loved it. Husband didn't make it in time for the birth, so I decided since I was alone, I can name her whatever I wanted, because he didn't show up for hours. She gets to the hospital, and we're talking about the baby, and she goes, "Oh God, what an ugly name. You should name her Bertha." I said no, I don't like that name, but thanks for the suggestion. I shuffled to the bathroom, and while I was showering, she had filled out the birth certificate information, and actually tried handing it into the birth registrar to rename my daughter. She had forged my signature, and everything. The lady taking the forms came to me to clarify since I had already filled out the forms previously, and mother-in-law declared it was just a joke, and she didn't mean anything by it. To this day, she asks me about Bertha and I refuse to engage, but if she thinks she is coming over to visit anymore, She has a huge surprise a-comin'. She has been off her rocker since her husband died. Had my baby shower over the weekend. Snide mother-in-law comes to help set up. As we are placing decorations on tables, she feels so needful to state that it looks like a party for a little kid. I stopped in my tracks, turned in her direction, then pointed at my stomach, and remind her it is for a kid. She rolls her eyes and I get this huffy, "Oh well, you know what I mean" remark. And of course at the end we get to hear a lovely comment about how she's just glad all of that's over with. All I can do is think to myself, yes, you put such a large effort into this. You had to make 40 salami rolls, and bring 2 cases of water. Insert eye roll. Honestly, after all her fussy comments leading up to the shower, I'm surprised that's all that was said. She felt the need to tell me I invited too many people. Keep in mind she was not hosting this, and did not pay for hardly anything. That's why she was given such a small task. I later found out she made a comment to dear husband asking what cult we had joined that we would know over 80 people to invite. Icing on the cake is that she didn't get us anything for the baby shower. Told dear husband that she will just wait, and see what everybody else got us, and find out what we need, after. She's not computer savvy, and according to her a gift registry is rude. The day after the shower, we go to visit my sister-in-law who is in from out of state. Of course she's staying with the in-laws. So while we're there, mother-in-law feels the need to lecture dear husband about his unnecessary spending. Because him going with friends out for drinks and dinner was just unnecessary. According to her, I love seeing my husband's shiny spine when he told her it wasn't her money, and none of her business. She tried to backpedal, and say she was just referring to us needing to back off on those things once the baby gets here. He then told her the same thing. It's still none of your business because it's still not your money. Remove the tattoo or we won't come to your wedding. My fiancé and I got similar tattoos recently. Mine is on my forearm, about an inch long, and an inch wide. My parents don't like my fiancé because he has tattoos. That is the sole reason they dislike him. Knowing we were going to tell them about the engagement and about the tattoo I got, my brother loudly asked me about my tattoo at dinner. Knowing how important it was that this night went well, my parents immediately start guilt-tripping me about how I've broken their hearts. They say my grandparents are rolling in their graves, and whatever else they can think of. I then outed my brother for his lower back tattoo of Scooby-Doo. Dinner ends shortly after that. While brother scolds us for behaving like children, which is fair to be honest, sister messages me and tells me that she yelled at mom and dad for me, saying that the tattoo shouldn't matter, and telling them off for being so focused on the tattoo on my forearm that they couldn't see the engagement ring on my finger. So now my parents know I'm engaged, which is fine, although I'd hoped to tell them in happier circumstances. And then I get a text from my dad. "Op, we were distraught to hear what you've done to yourself. Your mother and I will pay for laser removal, and we expect you to meet us halfway, and get it. If you refuse, you can expect to not see us at the wedding. If you intend to keep it then we will need some time to adjust. But we cannot in good conscience watch you walk down the aisle with that on your arm. We hope you will take up our offer. Love, Dad, and Mom." They sent the same message to my brother, who isn't even seeing anyone right now, threatening to also not come to his wedding if he doesn't remove his tattoo. I knew they didn't like tattoos, but I never in a million years thought they'd have this big of an issue with it. Please provide advice. Nice try, mother-in-law. My boyfriend's mother has been exhibiting some toxicity for a while now. Some of her symptoms include constantly making jokes about my appearance, treating me like a servant when she comes here, repeatedly showing up whenever she feels like it, getting annoyed when we have plans, and complaining that my boyfriend never has time for his poor old mom since we got together, and always comparing me to his ex, saying I'd never measure up to her. It's also worth adding at this stage that the reason she liked his ex so much is that the ex was so worried mother-in-law wouldn't like her she agreed to everything mother-in-law said and did, which included learning how to cook Esso's favorite foods, and letting mother-in-law take her shopping to buy her clothing that mother-in-law would wear. It was creepy, especially given that she looked a little like mother-in-law, like same hair and eye color, same face shape. I'd heard the horror stories, seen the warning signs, and noted all the red flags. And a couple weeks ago I essentially gave my boyfriend a presentation on why I know for a fact his mom doesn't like me. He told me he understands what I'm saying, and he's going to have a talk with her. I watched him call out his mom over the phone about the way she treats me, and her constant babying of him, and how it has to stop. On the call she was gracious about the whole thing, apologized for her treatment of both of us, and said she'd stop immediately. I actually felt bad when she said that. But then today she showed up again, totally random, during a time my boyfriend wasn't there. I said he wasn't home, and she said I know, and said she wanted to talk to me alone. Red flag number 1. She then said she wanted to do a fun day, so we could talk, and make sure everyone knows where they stand. Red flag number 2. I then said I had plans, which I did, and she said, well, you'll just have to cancel them then, while smiling. Red flag number 3. I then asked her what she was thinking of doing, and she said spa and shopping, bearing in mind the last time she took one of SO's partners shopping. I want to take this moment to thank everyone on Advice Subs, because my lurking has paid off. I put all of the advice into action. I know it was for other people, but I've nicked it. I looked mother-in-law dead in the eye, and said no. She asked why not. I said I don't want to. She demands a reason. I respond, I have a previous engagement and I do not want to go shopping with you. She says she planned this day out so we could sort things out. I say there is nothing to sort out. Have a nice day. And showed her the door. She leaves. I text SO to let him know what happened, and he responded, she already told me. She's not happy. Can't believe she just showed up when I just talked to her about that. Gonna have a talk with her about limits as soon as possible. I'm glad he's having that talk, and she's not even that bad as far as toxic parents go. But if he can get her to calm down and step off a bit, I do think she could eventually be a lovable person. Just needs some healthy boundaries, and a bit less insulting me, and one of those already seems to have stopped. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.